face of a contented man. Right there, folks. I'm sure you'll all agree. Welcome back, welcome back. I'm just taking the weight off my legs just by one of these marvellous beach benches that they have put up and down the beach here for the likes of me to have a wee comfortable rest. I don't know why I'm looking so contented, folks, because I have been out to see Richard, the terrifying sea creature from the deep who resides out there in the salty depths along the Sussex coastline. Terrifying, I say. He is terrifying. Not to me anymore, folks, because Richard and I have become fast and very firm friends. He does appreciate how I go out to check up on to see how he's getting on, check on his progress, whether it's progress in his love life or his professional life. I just like to keep an eye on him because, folks, I'm sure you'll all agree, it's not every day you become acquainted in a friendly way with a terrifying sea creature from the deep. So I don't mind telling you, I'm certainly going to hold on to this friendship and make it last. It's been good so far. It's been very good, but he's not having the best of times. He's a wee bit lost, a bit of a lost soul of a creature at the moment. How on earth do you know this, Mr. Stephen? How on earth do you know this? I hear you ask. Well, folks, I did take another wee swim out to see Richard yesterday. I took matters into my own hands and I just thought, I'm going to do it. I have seen Richard quite recently, but he was only really willing to tell me about other things that weren't relating to his work, and I really needed to get a wee update on how he's getting on at the big underwater cinema out there. So Richard, good to see you. Just here to get a wee update. He said, Mr. Stephen, come in, please come in. Take a seat here in my soggy quarters. It's very good to see you again. He said, pray tell, Richard, pray tell. How's it going out there in the big underwater cinema? He said, well, it's all right, Mr. Stephen. I have introduced the pamphlet system very successfully, and now all the patrons of the big underwater cinema out here, they know everything that's going on in the films that we show here, the dry scenes as well as the wet scenes. I have therefore greatly enriched their cinema going experience many times. But I'm not really recognized for my efforts. I said, Richard, that's very sad. It's a very sad story. I thought maybe introducing such a pamphlet system, which of course I have been helping you with, and I have enjoyed doing so, Richard. But I thought maybe that would maybe line up a wee promotion for you on the back of something like that. But he said, that's simply not the case, Mr. Stephen. If anything, Mr. Montgomery, the basking shark manager of the underwater cinema, is making me work even harder. It's almost like I'm being penalised for introducing the pamphlet system to the big underwater cinema. And I said, in what way, Richard? Well, he's just making me work harder. You do know that I have been using the use of all my tendrils to multitask and the popcorn and fizzy drinks booth. I can serve 10 customers at once because I have no less than 10 tendrils, so I can do all that very quickly. Mr. Montgomery has seen me do this and he acknowledges it, yet he does not pay me any more or give me any particular prospects to move ahead, move up in the big underwater cinema. And not only that, Mr. Stephen, but he now has me distributing all the fizzy drinks and popcorn while the film is being shown. He said, get you in there, Richard. You don't scare me anymore. You see, Mr. Montgomery was initially very scared of Richard when he first met him, folks. He had to have a stiff drink before interviewing him. You know all this. But he's not scared of him anymore, it would seem, and he's taken to, some would say, It's bullying, Richard, a bit of harassment. I don't think you should stay there if your efforts are not being rewarded appropriately. And he said, well, Mr. Stephen, I don't think I will be staying there. I don't think there's much of a future for me there. I could certainly keep my job, but I don't feel valued or respected that much. I said, that sounds very familiar, Richard. I've been through similar things. You need to get out then, you need to get out. Have you any ideas what you're going to do? I said, well, there are more and more opportunities down here in the sea than there used to be, Mr. Stephen. You are aware that there's, for example, a new Chinese takeaway called Ling's down here now. I could perhaps see if they need any help with delivering the Chinese food to all the sea creatures and other marine life around here, around the West Sussex coastline. But I fear there may not be much potential for career advancement if I was to start working at Ling's. But it might just give me a bit of pocket money. I said, that's not a bad idea, Richard. You should definitely get out there, have a chat to Mr. and Mrs. Ling. I hear they're a lovely couple. But he said, Mr. Stephen, before you go. And folks, I wasn't quite ready to go yet, to be honest with you, but because Richard said that, I took it as Richard's polite prompt that he was looking to get rid of me. You see, he does enjoy my visits, you understand, he does enjoy my visits, but he doesn't like me to hang around for too long. I'm not sure why. I don't feel comfortable enough to ask him just yet. But that's fine, folks, because to be fair, I was getting a bit wet and cold out there in his soggy quarters. He said, before you go, I don't know if you're interested or not, but in order to keep myself sane, because this has been a bit stressful for me, but out of my stress has come something creative. That's right, Mr. Stephen. I've tapped into my creative juices and words have spewed forth out of me. I said, what on earth are you talking about, Richard? Words have spewed forth. He said, well, I started writing poetry. That's right, folks. Richard, the terrifying sea creature from the deep, has taken to writing a few wee poems. I wonder what they could possibly be about. So I asked him, Richard, I wonder what they could possibly be about, these poems that you're writing. Well, he said, Mr. Stephen, are you familiar with the very flamboyant, extravagant birds they have up there on dry land? Called the peacock. I said, Richard, this is most unexpected. I am aware of the peacock, yes. I had no idea that you were aware of peacocks. He said, I'm very aware of peacocks. In fact, I'm slightly obsessed with them. So when I felt the need to start writing a poem, it felt completely appropriate to write my first poem about peacocks. Would you like to hear it? And I said, Richard, I'd absolutely love to hear your peacock poem before I head back. Do you mind if I write it down, Richard? Because if it's quite a long poem, then I won't be able to read it back for all my fans out there who watch my wee broadcasts. He said, that's fine. So folks, I'll read you his poem now because I've got it written down here. I'll try to read it in pretty much the way that Richard delivered it to me when I was out there in his soggy house. So here we go. Mr. Peacock, how do you fly? With those great big feathers so heavy in the sky. Mr. Peacock, where is your mate? Has she noticed your plumage? Has she taken your bait? Mr. Peacock, so lovely of feather, May I please have one for my new hat? Mr. Peacock, Mr. Peacock, all blue and green. Do you use a serum to get that lovely sheen? Family of peacocks, family of peacocks, we may call you a bevy. We hope you enjoy the films of Eugene Levy. Mr. Peacock, with a crest on your head. It acts like a sensor to get the peafowl to bed. Dirty Peacock, we've rumbled your game. Dirty Peacock, with your featherly frame. Mr. Peacock, I don't like your clothes store, but if I could buy your feathers there, then I'd probably visit more. And that's it for now, folks. That's Richard's poem. So Richard said, Mr. Stephen, you have to understand, this is my first poem that I've written. I'm not a poet, but I do enjoy it. It gives me a wee bit of what I think you people up in Dryland refer to as head space. I am a terrifying sea creature from the deep, and as such, it's just not part of my remit to be a wordsmith, to be a writer of great works of literature. If I can just throw words together and sort of make them rhyme and put it in the structure of poems, then I think I've done a pretty good job. I said, Richard, you're being a bit hard on yourself. I greatly enjoyed your poem. Folks, I don't know if you enjoyed it as much as I, but I really enjoyed reading Richard's poem. It was actually better when I read it than whenever he read it out there, but I wouldn't dare tell Richard that because he might get all terrifying. Who knew, folks, that Richard, the terrifying creature from the deep, had a thing for peacocks, so much so that he would choose to write a poem about them. Mr. Peacock, 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 Mr. Peacock.